Hey Grace City fam, I'm Thomas and I'm so pumped to be with you today as we help strangers become friends and friends become family. Today we wrap up our series Peaks and Valleys and learn more about how God meets us right where we are. If this is your first time with us today, welcome. We're glad that you've joined us. If you'd like to learn more about how to connect, just click the link below. We'd love to get to know you better. Also, we're getting ready for our comeback here at Grace City. We should have more details for you this week. Download our app and follow us on Facebook and Instagram to get all the deets. All right, let's prepare our hearts and minds for worship as we learn to live and love like Jesus.
You are here, moving in our midst. I worship you, I worship you. You are here, working in this place. I worship you, I worship you. You are here, moving in our midst. I worship you, I worship you. You are here, moving in this place. I worship you, I worship you. You are Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. You are Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. You are here, touching every heart. I worship you, I worship you. You are here, healing every heart. I worship you, I worship you. You are here, turning lives around. I worship you, I worship you. You are here, mending every heart. I worship you, I worship you. You are Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. You are Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. Oh, that is who you are. Oh, that is who you are. Oh, that is who you are. That is who you are. Oh, that is who you are. That is who you are. Oh, that is who you are. That is who you are. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop working. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. Oh, that is who you are. 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 Oh, that is who you are. 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 Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. Amazing love that welcomes me, the kindness of mercy that bought with blood wholeheartedly my soul undeserving. God, you're so good. Oh God, you're so good. God, you're so good. You're so good to me.
Behold the cross, age to age, and hour by hour. The dead are raised, this sinner saved, the work of your power.
Oh God, you're so good. Oh God, you're so good. Oh God, you're so good. You're so good to me. Oh God, you're so good. Oh God, you're so good. I am called, I am healed, I am whole, I am saved in Jesus' name. Highly favored, anointed, filled with your power for the glory of Jesus' name. And should this life bring suffering, Lord, I will remember what Calvary has bought for me, both now and forever. God, you're so good. Oh God, you're so good. Oh God, you're so good. You're so good to me. Oh God, you're so good. Oh God, you're so good. Oh God, you're so good. You're so good to me. I am blessed, I am called, I am healed, I am whole, I am saved in Jesus' name. Highly favored, anointed, filled with your power for the glory of Jesus' name. I am blessed, I am called, I am healed, I am whole, I am saved in Jesus' name. Highly favored, anointed, filled with your power for the glory of Jesus' name. And God, you're so good. Oh God, you're so good. Oh God, you're so good. You're so good to me.
Well, good morning, Grace City family. It is so great to have you with us this morning. And I got to tell you, I'm really excited because we are getting closer and closer to when we can meet together again in person. And I can't wait. And I don't know how you've been with reintegrating into some sense of normalcy and testing out the waters of getting back out there. But for my family, one of the first things we did was to go out to the park. We took the kids, Stephanie and I threw the kids in the car and loaded up and just went and enjoyed God's creation out in the park. It seemed like a good idea, right? Because it's open air and there's plenty of space to spread out. And we just had ourselves a great time with the kids. We brought the scooters and let them go around, and airplanes, we were flying in the air, and we brought my little Rye guy, his tricycle with us. Ryan's 3, and he's got this amazing blue tricycle that somebody let us have a while back, and he just loves this thing. He gets on it, and he scoots his little bum around. He doesn't use the pedals, though. For him, that's too much. He just sits on it and just kind of scoots and nudges himself around really fast. But he has such a good time on this tricycle. And so there we are out enjoying the sunset, enjoying the beautiful weather, and just spending time together as family. And as we're out there, a couple other guys enter the scene, these 2 guys, and they've got their BMX bikes, and they are out there, and these guys know what they're doing. And they're popping wheelies and doing headstands and spinning and standing on top and doing jumps and getting it up there in the air. And Ryan just stops and is completely mesmerized by this whole thing. He's just watching and totally taking it in, these guys that are helping him see his tricycle in a whole new way. He's just watching, and then Steph and I are watching him watch them and just seeing the look on his face, and we start smiling. That's really cute that he's just watching these guys. And then this crazy thing happens. He starts scooting again on his little tricycle. And then I thought, man, did he just like trip or something? I heard a little rustle. What was that? And then it took me a second to realize what was going on. It kept happening over and over. He was doing tricks on his tricycle. He was trying to pop wheelies, and he was jumping. He was actually getting the thing up in the air a little bit, over and over as he watched these guys, and now he's doing the same thing. And these guys are so proud. They're smiling because this little kid's just copying him. And Steph and I are laughing, just taking the whole thing in. And I just stepped back and thought again, man, somebody is always watching, aren't they? I mean, somebody's always watching. And the truth is, though, sometimes we don't always want somebody to be watching. I mean, I had flashbacks thinking back when I was a kid on my bike, and the one and only time I attempted a bike stunt. We had gathered the kids around the neighborhood, and there was this ramp, and everybody was doing tricks, and I decided I was going to do it too. And I'm not sure what trick I was attempting, but when I went up in the air, it looked like spaghetti. I was every which direction, and none of them were the right way. And I landed hard, and I scraped my elbows and my knees, and the tears started streaming down, and I was humiliated and hurt in front of all my friends, in front of the whole neighborhood, just sitting out there. And sometimes it feels like that, doesn't it? I mean, we would love if everything was just 100 and everything was up and to the right, but the truth is, life is messy, and there's peaks and there's valleys, there's good times and bad times. Fred Rogers, some of you guys know I'm a huge Mr. Rogers fan, but one of the things I read from him recently said, there is no normal life that is free of pain. It's the very wrestling with our problems that is often the impetus for our growth. And we know that. We've at least heard it, right? This phrase, growing pains, that these seasons actually push us to grow. But there's something else I think we often miss, is that it's not only valuable for us, it's also valuable for others. That when we journey together, we help learn from each other, and we see how the other person, how somebody else walks through different times, different peaks and different valleys. Both. We are wrapping up our series today. We've been going through looking at this life of Elijah in the book of Kings. And last week we took a break. We were, for Mother's Day, we want to celebrate all the amazing women in our lives that have helped reflect God's love and help shape who we are today. And Pastor Thomas just nailed it, hit it out of the park as usual. But we're wrapping up our series today. We're finishing up looking once again at Elijah. And I want to pick up right where we left off last time. We were in 1 Kings chapter 19. I'm just going to read the very next verse. It says, so Elijah went from there and found Elisha, son of Shaphat. Now, I just want to point out, went from there. So what else, what was there? What was the first half of 1 Kings 19? Well, let me recap a little bit for you. See, this story, if you remember from a couple weeks ago, this was the lowest point. This was the deepest valley probably that Elijah ever faced. I mean, he had experienced the mountaintop of God using him, of people's lives being changed and God being worshiped, and he was filled with joy, a lot of celebration. He had a little pep in his step. He was running strong. And then just once you get to the beginning of chapter 19, now somebody's out to kill him. He's running for his life. He's depressed. He's questioning whether his life meant anything at all. He's exhausted. He's hurt. He's hungry. He's hangry. He's depressed. He's lonely. And he even says he feels emotionally alone, and he's definitely physically alone, but he's reminded that he's never truly alone. And God, in this moment, in his most painful spot, God leans in and speaks to him in a still, small voice, graciously, calmly. He doesn't come on strong and mean and condemning to Elijah. He just meets him right where he's at in the middle of his pain. And God does some crazy things. He asks questions and actually listens to what Elijah says. Elijah's able to just be honest and bare his heart to God. And God's there for him. And then when God does speak, what God says, he reminds him of two things. One, he's not alone. He says, there's 7,000 others out there, buddy. It's not just you. You may have felt alone, but you're never alone, Elijah. But he also tells him something else. He gives him a bunch of things to do. He tells him, hey, I want you to go anoint this king, and I want you to go anoint that king, and I also want you to go and after this guy Elisha, and he's going to be coming along with you. And Elijah says, wait, who? Elisha is like, that's my name. No, you're Elijah. That's Elisha. Oh, okay. Well, he's got a nice name. Yeah, I know. We get it, Elijah. Well, wait, I'm going to go after, yeah, you're going to go after him. And immediately the next thing you get in the story is he's going after Elisha. There's something interesting that happens, that part of Elijah's healing here is to shift his focus. See, God listens to him, but then he moves him in a new direction with a new task. I was reading from the American Journal of Psychology, the study of people struggling with depression and anxiety. And those are things that I faced at different times through different seasons. And I know many of you have as well. But the study was interesting. It fascinated me. They were studying which was more helpful when you're in those states. And they put two groups of people. One was focused on self-image goals, and one was focused on compassionate goals. Self-image goals being like reminding yourself and seeing the value of who you are, boosting your own self-esteem. And I'm a winner, those kind of things. And I am valuable, and look at how amazing I am that God's created me in this and that. And then the other was compassionate goals. It was like, you know what? Just pause that and go and find somebody else to care for, encourage, serve. My guess is you already know what happened. See, those that focused on the compassionate goals, they found themselves in a lot healthier place. They were able to navigate those feelings of depression and anxiety and come out of them in a much healthier place than those that focus on bettering themselves. Now, it's interesting, Dr. Seth Gillian, he's a professor at UPenn. He's a clinical psychologist, an expert in cognitive behavioral therapy, and specifically in depression and anxiety. And he said this, based on the study, the really good news is that by turning our attention toward helping others, we make everyone feel better, ourselves included. We find not only relief from our depression and anxiety, but also improvements in our relationships. And so God sends him out on this mission and anoint this guy, anoint that guy, and then this guy, Elisha. Now, Elisha, it says, is going to be a servant, is what it says in most of our translation. The Hebrew is a little more nuanced. It says, this guy's going to be in your room. He's going to be right up with you. It's like there's not going to be any social distancing with this guy. He's going to share the same space. You're going to breathe the same air, and he is one day going to take your place, Elijah. And so God pairs them up, and Elijah begins to invest in Elisha. And it says, verse 19, so he went from there, from that place of pain, but he's back at it, and found Elisha, son of Shaphat. And he was plowing, Elisha, was 12 yoke of oxen, and he himself was driving the 12th pair. What you know right here is this guy's got resources, and he's a worker. And Elijah went up to him and threw his cloak around him, his mantle in some translations. He goes, he throws his mantle on him. Can you imagine for a second? You're Elisha, you're hard at work, you're out there in the sun, you're pushing oxen, you're at it, you're plowing the fields, and some prophet comes up to you and just throws his mantle and just, like, no big deal. You're sweaty, you're grimy, you're in the middle, but you're like, whoa, what's going on? And it's amazing. Here's the next verse. Check this out. Verse 20. Elisha then left his oxen and ran after Elijah. He's like, hold on. Let me kiss my father and mother goodbye, he said, and then I will come with you. And Elijah replies, go back. What have I done to you? I mean, he plays coy here. See, Elisha sees that there's a lot of meaning in what just happened. He knows what this is about. He is being asked to take up the mantle, both literally and figuratively, of Elijah. It's where we actually get the phrase today of taking up someone's mantle. And Elisha sees this significance in this. So verse 21, Elisha sort of does what he says. He says, so Elisha left him and went back. He took his oxen. Yeah, he went back. But here's what he did when he went back. He took his oxen and slaughtered them. He burnt the plowing equipment to cook the meat, and he gave it to all the people, and they ate. He throws a big celebration, sells the stuff off, burns the ships. It's over. His old life is done. He says goodbye to his parents, and then it says he set out to follow Elijah and become the guy in his space, right up next to him, following him every step of the way. I mean, Elisha, here is saying goodbye to his job, his stuff, his relationship, his security, his home, his identity, anything familiar. He says goodbye to all of it because he sees what's happening. And then the text does some interesting things over the next couple chapters. And I'm just going to summarize a little bit. See, Elijah keeps going about ministry, and he interacts with kings and confronts kings, and he goes and sticks up for the oppressed. God's always got a heart for the oppressed. And Elisha is with him every step of the way. For these next few years, Elisha has a front row seat into Elijah's life of how he lives. He calls out these corrupt kings. He doesn't just do that. He doesn't just speak the truth and stick up for the oppressed, but he's also spending time with them, eating meals, taking naps, taking walks. They're talking. They're sharing life together. Elijah and Elisha are together navigating. He's watching his master navigate the highs and the lows and the boring and the exciting and the hurtful and the every little moment and every little emotion in between. Then you get up to 2 Kings 2, and it says this: when the Lord was about to take Elijah up to heaven in a whirlwind, Elijah and Elisha were on their way from Gilgal. It just starts with like, by the way, it's time for him to go. And I just want to read this text to you. Elijah said to Elisha, stay here. The Lord has sent me to Bethel. But Elisha said, as surely as the Lord lives and as you live, I'm not going to leave you. So they went down to Bethel. The company of the prophets at Bethel came out to Elisha, and said, do you, by the way, Elijah and Elisha, good luck, tongue twisters. Do you know that the Lord is going to take your master from you today? Yes, I know, Elisha replied. So be quiet. He's like, don't talk about it. I don't want to talk, guys. Then Elijah said to him, stay here, Elisha. The Lord sent me to Jericho. And he replied, as surely as the Lord lives and as you live, I will not leave you. I'm with you to the end. So they went to Jericho together. The company of the prophets at Jericho went up to Elisha and asked him, you know, the Lord is going to take your master from you today. I don't want to hear about it. Be quiet, he tells them. In verse 6, then Elijah said to him, stay here. The Lord sent me to the Jordan. And he replied, you know where this is going. As surely as the Lord and as you live, I will not leave you. And so the two of them walked on. 50 men from the company of the prophets went and stood at a distance facing the place where Elijah and Elisha had stopped at the Jordan. There's 50 guys that are there as witnesses, and they're watching them as they're walking. And Elijah took his cloak, that same mantle, rolled it up, and he struck the water with it. And then the water divides to the right and to the left, and the two of them crossed over on dry ground. When they had crossed, Elijah said to Elisha, tell me what I can do for you before I'm taken. And here's what Elisha says: let me inherit a double portion of your spirit. Now you might read that and think, double portion, what is that about? I mean, is he greedy? But he's not asking for a double portion of the inheritance. He's asking for a double portion of his spirit. What's going on here? Here's what you have to know. In those several chapters, in those years that have passed, Elijah and Elisha have grown together. Their relationship has grown. The phrase is repeated over and over. And it's not quite as obvious in our English translation, but the Hebrew is really obvious. The same phrase is repeated over and over. The two of them, the two of them, the two of them, the two of them. They're just always there together. I mean, Elisha becomes to Elijah like Robin to his Batman, or like Short Round to his Indiana Jones, or Barney to his Fred, or Donkey to his Shrek. Donkey! Or Chewie to his Han Solo. You had to know a Star Wars reference was coming, right? I mean, he's just with them. Anytime you found one, you found the other. So there's this double portion, but there's something even deeper yet. See, a double portion was what a father would give their son. I mean, Elisha was the son of Shaphat, sure, but he's also become sort of a son to Elijah. It says in Deuteronomy 21:7 that the firstborn, the first son, gets a double inheritance because they're responsible for taking care of the rest of the family. It's this position of pride that was in this culture. And Elisha's saying, man, I want to be like your firstborn son in the faith. I want to be your guy. And here's what it says, 2 Kings 2:10. You have asked a difficult thing. This isn't just a small thing. It's not like just, can I have the car? Elijah said, yet if you see me when I am taken from you, it will be yours. Otherwise, it will not. This is a strange caveat, right? What's he saying? Like, don't blink. If you blink, then you won't get it. Or if you've got your ADD issues start acting up and you look over at a squirrel, you're not going to get this blessing. Is that what he's saying? That's not what he's saying at all. What he's saying is something actually way deeper. That's not what he's talking about. There's this movie years ago, you might remember this, Signs. It was an alien movie, an alien invasion movie with Mel Gibson and Joaquin Phoenix in it. And the aliens are coming, and the main character, Mel Gibson's character, is this priest who has lost his faith. But his brother's talking to him late one night, and I love this speech. Here's what Mel Gibson's character says. He says, people break down into two groups when they experience something lucky. Group number one sees it as more than luck, more than just coincidence. They see it as a sign, evidence that there is someone up there watching out for them. Group number two sees it as just pure luck, just a happy turn of chance. I'm sure the people in group number two are looking at those 14 lights in a very suspicious way. For them, the situation's 50-50. Could be good, could be bad. But deep down, they feel that whatever happens, they're on their own, and that fills them with fear. Yeah, there are those people, but there's a whole lot of people in group number one, and when they see those 14 lights, they're looking at a miracle. And deep down, they feel that whatever's going to happen, there will be someone there to help them. And that fills them with hope. See, what you have to ask yourself is, what kind of person are you? Are you the kind that sees signs, that sees miracles, or do you believe that people just get lucky? It's a good question. This seeing that's happening in this passage, it's more than just physical eyesight. And it's what Jesus in the New Testament talk about over and over. It's when Jesus heals a blind man, it's not just about healing a blind man, it's a picture of whether or not we see him. He's always saying things like, you guys see, but you don't really see. He's talking about opening their eyes. How do you guys keep missing it over and over? Elijah says, yes, you can experience the full measure of my spirit and the blessing that comes with it, but only if you have learned to see what most people don't see. When you can learn to see what's invisible, what physical eyes don't see. It's the capacity to look beyond the seen to the unseen world. David Roper, in his book, Elijah, A Man Like Us, says this: faith is simpler and grander than we believe. We tend to think of it as psyching ourselves into accepting improbable facts that are hard. You might think that that's what faith is. I just got to find a way to muster up enough strength to try to accept weird facts. No, that's not what it is. Beyond authentic faith is something else entirely. He says it is the capacity to look beyond the seen to the unseen world of reality. The invisible God is at work. It's being able to see beyond this to know that God's at work in all of this. And what do you mean see differently? 2 Corinthians 5, the Apostle Paul says this, and I've probably referenced this passage more than any other one in our time I have been with you as a part of this faith community. but it's one I think we need to keep hearing over and over and over again. Paul says, from now on, we regard no one from a worldly point of view. Though we once regarded Christ in this way, we do so no longer. Verse 17, he says, anyone in Christ, the new creation has come. The old has gone, the new is here. What's he saying? This new way of seeing, it changes how we see him, how we see ourselves. We used to regard Christ a certain way. We don't any longer. How we see ourselves, we're new creations in him. But it also changes how we see each other. It changes that. We don't regard anybody from a worldly point of view, which is exactly why a story about a 25-year-old black man taking a jog is so heartbreaking. Because we still don't see each other the right way. As I'm sure you've probably caught on the news and the response, Ahmaud Arbery was out just taking a jog in a neighborhood, and two guys saw a young black guy running and decided to load up with guns, a shotgun, brandishing weapons in their truck, intersect him, and shot him. The claims that about a burglary started to fall through. The self-defense is a little bit hard to swallow, especially when you watch this video. How we see each other. In the wake of it, I actually hadn't caught the whole story, but I saw a post my wife had sent me from a former student, a junior high student from back in New Jersey when we were in youth ministry together. Her name's Amanda, and she was sharing about her own journey with being able to see people differently than she used to, of learning to understand. And she was talking, she said one time, with her friend Laura, about bragging about how she had been pulled over 5 times for speeding, going 20 some miles an hour over the speed limit, not having a correct address, taillight missing license, I think was one of the times, and never even gotten a written ticket. Never even gotten a written warning. She's like, maybe it was just because I'm so cute. And her friend Laura said, or maybe it's just because you're a young white girl. She said it shattered her inside to realize that if she looked like that instead, probably wouldn't have been met with so much grace. How we see each other matters. It matters. And Elijah says to Elisha, yeah, you're going to experience that blessing, that double portion, but only if you can see differently. Verse 11, as they were walking along and talking together, suddenly a chariot of fire and horses of fire appeared and separated the two of them. And Elijah went up to heaven in a whirlwind. The way it's written, there were 50 witnesses, but in Hebrew, it hints that only Elisha actually sees what nobody else sees in this moment. He sees something that nobody else happens to see. And Elisha saw this. He did see it, and he cried out because he's learned to see differently. My father, of course, this guy's a father figure to him, the chariots and horsemen of Israel. And Elisha saw him no more. Then he took hold of his garment and tore it in two. And Elisha picked up Elijah's mantle, his cloak that had fallen from him, and went back and stood on the bank of the Jordan. Here's my question. I just got a couple questions for you this morning. First one is this: how do you see? How do you see? Later on, maybe you say, you're reading a little bit into this. I don't think so. There's a story later on with Elisha, a little later in his ministry and his journey. In 2 Kings 6, where Elisha and his servant are together, and the guys are coming, the armies are coming to get him, and his servant's terrified, but Elisha's so confident. And Elisha, here's what he tells his prays over his servant. Elisha prayed, verse 17, open his eyes, Lord, so that he may see. Then the Lord opened the servant's eyes. Was the guy blind? No, he just didn't see everything. He didn't see the big picture. And he looked and he saw the hills full of horses and chariots of fire all around Elisha. And then Lando swept in and said, there are more of us, Poe. And then Zori flew in, and Babu Frick went, hey. Okay, that's not in the story. But there's this just the armies all there, and you get the sense like, oh, we're going to be just fine. I didn't realize this whole army, this angel army was surrounding us. By the way, I just want to pause for a second, a side note. Why do I always refer to so many movies and stories? I got to tell you, because I'm a sucker for a good story, for a story with hope and adventure, of overcoming conflict. And I think sometimes we rob the Bible when we just pull out verses and we miss the narrative, the bigger story that's being told. See, Elijah's story dovetails into Elisha's story, and Elisha's story impacts this servant in a profound way. And all of their stories are wrapped up in his story, history. And you see these things from how Elisha understands this first moment with oxen to now being confident, Elijah's successor, carrying the mantle, being there and seeing differently and teaching somebody else to see differently too. How do you see? Hebrews 11:1. Now faith is the confidence in what we hope for, assurance of what we don't see. How do you see? Harriet Beecher Stowe, the Christian abolitionist, famous author of Uncle Tom's Cabin, one of the greatest selling books of all time, and also a poet, wrote this, The Other World. She says, it lies around us like a cloud, a world we don't see. Yet the same closing of an eye may bring us there to be. Its gentle breezes fan our cheek amid our worldly cares. Its gentle voices whisper love and mingle with our prayers. Sweet hearts around us throb and beat. Sweet helping hands are stirred, and palpitates the veil between with breathings almost heard. You can almost hear it. To close the eye and close the ear, wrapped in a trance of bliss and gently drawn in loving arms to swoon to that from this other world around us that we don't see, and to start living in that reality. How do you see? The other question I'd ask you is, who is watching you? Who are the kids 3-year-olds on tricycles with their eyes on you, learning from you every moment? 2 Corinthians 5 says, we are therefore Christ's ambassadors, as though God were making his appeal through us. You, if you claim Jesus, you are representing him. We put no stumbling block in anyone's path, it says later on, so that our ministry will not be discredited. I don't want to do anything to get in the way of other people seeing how amazing God is. So people are watching you, right? Who's watching you? Here's another question maybe. What do they see in you? I just want to wrap up with this simple quiz, pop quiz. When I look at the world around us and I look at the way Christians interact with those that don't yet know the grace and mercy and beauty of our Savior, our amazing God, a loving Father, those that don't yet know that, it reminds me of that thing that Jesus said in John 15, that old song. They'll know that we're Christians by our, here's the pop quiz, what's the right answer? And they'll know that we're Christians by our right answers. They'll know that we're Christians by our unkind memes, by our name calling, by winning arguments, being an internet troll, by divisive talk. Or is that they'll know that they're Christians, that we are Christians by something else? Because somebody is always watching.
Lord bless you and keep you, make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. Lord, turn his face towards you and give you peace. Lord, bless you and keep you, make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. Lord, turn his face towards you and give you peace. Amen. 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 Lord, bless you and keep you, make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. Lord, turn his face toward you and give you peace. Amen. 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 May his favor be upon you and 1,000 generations, and your family and your children and their children and their children. May his favor be upon you and 1,000 generations, and your family and your children and their children and their children. May his favor be upon you and 1,000 generations, and your family and your children and their children and their children. May his favor be upon you and 1,000 generations, and your family and your children and their children and their children. May his presence go before you and behind you and beside you, all around you and within you. He's with you, he's with you in the morning, in the evening, in your coming and your going, in your weeping and rejoicing. He's for you, 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 he's for you. And amen, 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 amen. May his favor be upon you and 1,000 generations, and your your family, and your children, and the children, and the children. May His presence go before you, and behind you, and beside you, all around you, and within you. He's with you, He's with you in the morning, in the evening, in your coming, in your going, in your weeping and rejoicing. He's for you, 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 He's for you. And amen, 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 amen.
You can't run away or hide from the love of Jesus. Even when we think it's too far gone or we're not worth it, Jesus calls us worthy. Now, whether you've been part of the family for years or this is your first time with us, we'd love to help you take your next best step. Just click on the connect link in the comments below and we'll be sure to reach out to you. You can also stay connected with us throughout the week on Facebook, Instagram, or our website at wearegrace.city. We've been grateful for your continued generosity while we wait to be back together in our new location soon. If you're already part of the family, you can continue to give online at our giving link below. Thanks for joining us today. And remember, Grace lives here.